Good morning and welcome back to the Good Morning Minute podcast. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and I'm excited to kick off season 2 with a theme that touches every single one of us: relationships. That's right, friends. Relationships are at the heart of our human experience. They shape who we are, how we grow, and how we show up in the world. Whether it's family, friends, romantic connections, or even the relationships we have with ourselves, each one carries lessons, challenges, and moments of pure joy. This season, we'll sit down with incredible guests who will share their stories, wisdom, and insights on building, nurturing, and even healing relationships. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into conversations that inspire connection and growth. Now that we've set the stage for today's conversation on relationships, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest. She brings a unique perspective and a wealth of experience to the table, and I know her insights will leave you feeling inspired and equipped to navigate your own relationships with intention and understanding. So, without further ado, let me introduce T-Quest to the Good Morning Minute podcast. T-Quest, I am excited that you are here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are interested in today's topic.
Well, I go by the name of T-Quest. I work in the entertainment music industry as a journalist, a radio personality, a voiceover actress, recording artist, and graphic designer. And I love this topic. My whole brand is all about love. My brand is actually Gotta Love Me, and it's been something that's been dear to my heart ever since I started. I'm always writing about love, whether it's poetry, songs, stories, and years later, it finally happened. So it's definitely hits differently nowadays.
Wow. Well, I am so excited to get to know you better through this podcast and just get down to it. So, in your opinion, what's the most important foundation for any healthy relationship?
Knowing how to communicate properly. Yes. No, I had to say properly because we converse with individuals every day, all day, but I have to make sure it's done properly in a healthy way so it's received the way you intend it to be received.
Oh, absolutely. And I definitely communication through the many interviews that I'm doing on this specific topic. But I think in life in general, communication is the undertone for everything. It's the way you
Absolutely.
communicate, and it's not just the words that you say, but how you say it, the nonverbals, all the other things too, for
Absolutely.
sure. So I know that you have a personal story. And maybe you can share that, or maybe some experience that helped shape how you approach relationships today.
Mhm. Well, we all grew up wanting to be a mom or a bride, and we play with baby dolls and everything, but it always comes to us at a different time on our timeline. It's not that cookie cutter. We go to school, then we get married, have children. Everyone's timeline is totally different. And even though I always desired it, I never wanted to rush love. So when I converse with people nowadays and tell them that my fiance is my first real relationship, everyone's shocked. And I'm like, no, it's no major red flags. It's just I wanted to be patient, and I take that title very seriously. So I didn't want to just give it to anybody. So I've been through a few dating moments, dating disasters, but when he finally entered my life, I'm just like, it was worth the wait. I would rather have a healthy relationship with the right one than to just put a title on anything just to say I'm in a relationship, as I've seen others do, throughout life.
I love that you're being transparent and vulnerable with this because I feel like I've run into people that are in similar situations. They don't have a lot of relationship experiences because when they step into those things, they step into them with intentionality, they step
Mhm.
into them with purpose. Um, And so, yes, there are people out there, I'm guilty as charged too, that are just that fast and furious. I'm kind of just dating for fun. I'm kind of
Mhm.
just seeing what's out there. And there's so many, what do they call it? Entanglements out there. Um,
Yeah.
but I love that you're being vulnerable because this definitely is something I feel is beneficial when you are looking for that long-term situation and you're
Mhm.
not dating. I think one time I had someone say dating for sport, like just, out there and who's Mr. or Mrs. right now. But actually taking seriously your feelings, your heart, and the emotions that come along with getting to know someone, becoming attached to them, and all those other things.
Mhm.
So, let me ask you, can you share a defining moment in your life that helped shape how you um, view relationships? But not only that, like go a little further as far as how like with this relationship that you're in now, like how did that become priority? And you knew that this was going to be a little bit more of an investment for you emotionally.
Mhm. Well, it's kind of like relationships in life, whether it's with friends, family members, siblings. I've always been that go-to person, that nice person, right? Because I always yearn for friendships and connections, especially in entrepreneurship. Branding and networking is always your thing. So I'm always a people's person. So I've always wanted healthy, loving relationships. And people are like, why are you so kind? I'm like, I just treat people the way I desire to be treated. And that's the same thing when it comes to a personal relationship. You know, I want someone who's going to treat me the way I treat them. I want to piggyback off of you, good vibes, good energy. And that's what it's all about. So throughout my journey, growing up or working in like the music industry, I meet a lot of people, and yes, we can converse, we can laugh, we can chat, maybe go to dinner, maybe do this, but that special thing wasn't there. Now, it's something you stated about Mr. or Mrs. right now. Now, I have to be honest. I did have that conversation and I was like, you know what? I'm a great person and I know there's something I want. Now, maybe he's not here in my life now, but can we at least do a trial with Mr. Right now? Like, I just want it so badly, but I was just like, how about maybe Mr. Right now? You should not ask for things like that because Mr. Right Now came along and I'm like, you know what? I'm okay if you never came, but it's okay because I went through that and then that helped me realize what I truly want, what I truly desire, and what makes my current relationship the right one is since I have the foundation of being just a nice, loving person, I didn't come in with like baggage or heartbroken or anything. And with my partner, he's a laid back, cool guy too. So us having that unique energy, it just made our relationship easier. And for the fact that we are older and more seasoned, we didn't have to go through that. Hey, what's your favorite color? Hey, what's your sign? Or let's date, or those crazy teen years or 20 years. With us being older, I think it actually made it better for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think maturity plays a key role in relationships, especially those that are going to be the long lasting ones?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not like you said, it's maturity, it's not your age. Because we meet a lot of grown adults that act just like children. And you're like, well, you're too old for that, or why are you acting like that? It's just like because you have to grow within yourself. And a lot of people are not there because they're used to generational curses not being broken. They're used to seeing broken homes. They're not used to seeing longevity relationships. If they're not witnessing something healthy, once they get to that stage, they may not know how to receive something healthy or vice versa, giving it out.
And that I can take a little pause there because that is some deep stuff too, because it's very true. And coming from a background that didn't set a healthy foundation for relationships, I
Mm-hmm.
totally understand what you're saying because
Yeah.
it does continue on in the way you seek out romantic partnerships, the way you seek out friendships, and even I mean it even affects the way you look at yourself as
Yes.
well. For sure, for sure. So tell me, what was it in your life that made you really become more aware at relationships, whether they be for love or whatever, to be more intentional, like really knowing the discernment of, I'm not going to step into this one because I know it's not going to head where I want it to head. But then another one comes along, and then you're like, okay, this one is something that I can look at, possibly investing a little more time, a little more energy, a little more emotion. What was that? What was that kind of brought you to that awareness?
Believe it or not, I think it's when the pandemic happened and we were all locked inside. And I currently moved, so I wasn't home. I wasn't in my comfort zone. So it was so much going on. I'm like, new environment, new energy. And now we have this pandemic. It was just so much at the same time. And since we're inside, we're on our phones, we're on social media, we're on dating apps, we're on everything. And I try to communicate with people, but I'm just like, we don't even know if we're gonna live tomorrow. Like, it was just so scary. And I just started thinking about everything in life. And I'm just like, I don't have time to be dating or want to be on the phone all night and talking about different things if you're not him, if that makes sense. I just felt like time was so more precious that if I didn't feel that spark, I didn't allow people to have my time. It wasn't until I met my fiance now, during the pandemic, where I felt the spark, and I'm like, you are worth my time. You are worth my energy. You're worth me being on the phone all day long or on Zoom because everything was so virtual. Like, I felt that connection with him that I'm like, I'm okay giving you my time. And then it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Um, because he put a ring on it, girl. That's
Yes.
why it worked out. but with seriousness, do you think, because you said, the pandemic kind of gave us a moment of slowdown, because
Mhm.
I know for me and my own self love, it gave me an opportunity to focus inward and do some
Mhm.
healing and whatnot. But do you think the pandemic allowed, because there was no physical contact, or it was very limited in the amount of physical contact and face-to-face contact that we could have had, uh, gave you the opportunity to really step back and get to know someone first before jumping into all those other things?
Absolutely. Because we lived in two different states. So we haven't even met face to face, but we work together in the industry. So we're in different conferences or Zoom meetings. So we took that time to really get to know one another on a different level outside of intimacy, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I believe having that distance and growing so strong in every other avenue of life, that gave us a wonderful, solid foundation to our relationship. And
I
it grew
love that.
stronger once we met person in person.
Yeah, for sure. Because it, I don't know. I mean, it's different when you get to talking to someone and you can have those long conversations, and you look down, you're like, oh my gosh, already 30 minutes. Wow, I barely can stay on the phone with someone, that I can
Hmm.
tolerate for 5 minutes, much less 30. I think
Yeah.
that's great. And you know, it helps just really get to know someone on a level where physical intimacy isn't a factor, because when you start mixing all those other things in there, I
Hmm.
think, even if you're an adult, and it gets all confusing. I mean, what do
Hmm.
you think?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree, especially in today's society. It's so sexualized that
Mm-hmm.
they allow it to have such a huge percentage in their relationship. So if they don't have it, they feel so deprived and like they in the urge they need things, and that's why a lot of them step out on their relationship because they feel that they're not being fulfilled. Well, where in our case, we're so fulfilled with so much more that I feel like intimacy is the bonus to the happy foundation that we already have.
Do you think it also kind of shapes, because the beauty is in the eye of the beholder,
Hmm.
and that's what they say. But the more you get to know someone, you fall in love with them for different reasons, and it's not always so superficial. Does
Hmm.
it change who they are and on the outside?
I think it does. Cause
Mhm.
like with me, I'm a mental person and I love smart guys because I grew up a nerd and
Yeah.
someone who has like an intellectual mindset, like I think that is what is hot. That's what's sexy. That's what I'm attracted to. So even if they were on the spectrum of what they consider like average or whatever, in my mind, I look at it as hot because I'm looking at you from different levels versus just naturally physical, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I like that because I think goal setting, what are your goals? What are your ambitions? What are
Yeah.
is that right there makes it makes you attractive when I'm looking for sure. I see that. I hear that.
Mm.
Um, so now that you're in this new relationship with a fiance and it's evolved over time, what's some advice you would give a person that possibly, okay, they were kind of just out there dating and just putting all of their, things on the line there, so to speak, but now they want something more. How would we bring that person back to start to initiate something that would end up more long term for that person? What kind of advice would you give?
I think I would bring it back to what we first talked about, which is communication and knowing how to communicate properly. As we get older, we should feel more comfortable having adult conversations. This is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I desire. I want you to tell me who you are, your wants and your desires, and see if we can do something with that. A lot of reasons, well, one of the reasons I've noticed with a lot of people, the reason why they can't have healthy relationships because they still don't know who they are. Even as adults, they still don't know who they are. They still don't know what they want, what they need. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes people jump into a relationship to fill a void that is not for the other person to fill, it's for you to fulfill within yourself.
Mhm.
So I tell people could do the work. Do the work to make sure you are whole enough and realize the person is not to fill the void. They're supposed to be a bonus to your life. And then once you meet them or connect with them, have mature conversations. We are adults. We should have those conversations like, how's life? How are you doing work wise? You know what I'm saying? What's your mental like? And ask those sexual questions. How many partners you've had recently? How often do you take tests? Because a lot of people have to realize you got to focus on your health as well. These are conversations that people avoid, yet they're really critical when it comes to your relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny how sometimes, women, men jump into relationships and they don't ask those important questions until it gets to I want to marry. There's feelings involved, right?
Yeah.
And it's evolved and then they start asking those questions. Well, do you want to have kids? What kind of, how are we going to raise them as spiritually? What's that going
Mm-hmm.
to be like?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think all of those questions should be asked up front where there is no emotional investment, because then you can sit there and go, okay, I don't think this is going to work out romantically. It doesn't mean that we can't be friends, but it's not going to go anywhere beyond that. For
Absolutely.
sure. I think that those questions should be asked. I think even in a career, you need to ask those questions too, because when you're being interviewed, you need to interview that company as well. Talk about their visions, talk about
Mm-hmm.
where they're headed. Yes, communication is key for sure. I absolutely agree. So, Miss Quest, let me just lighten this up a little bit more. What is your love language and how do you see it show up in your current relationship?
Okay. So my love language is act of service. And once I actually took the test, I'm like, you know what? That does make sense because I'm always pouring into other individuals. I'm always giving. I'm always everyone's go-to. I'm like, what do you need? How can I help you as a person, as a business person? Whatever you need, like I'm here. I'm always pouring out. But who's pouring into me? I'm
Mhm.
always watering other people's gardens, but who's watering my garden? So when it comes to my partner, it's like his act of service is what really grabs my attention. And I'm not just talking about cars and mansion and Gucci, not that materialistic type of things. It's more the fact that he focuses on things that I say in conversation, and he hears me, and then he'll do something or provide a service or something that I need versus what I want. For example, when it came to our first Valentine's Day, um, virtually, of course, because of COVID, I was always talking about, doing podcasting. And I'm like, you know what? I really got to put on my list. I need a new microphone because this one's going out. Da, da, da. And just this is regular conversation amongst many other conversations. February came, got a knock at the door. No, it wasn't flowers and a teddy bear, which is cute, but it was actually a new podcast microphone. And I was like, whoa. And it meant so much to me because, yes, typically it's chocolates and bears and flowers, which is cute, but you knew that the microphone is something I truly needed and it's going to last longer. And it warmed my heart because that just shows me that you were truly paying attention to who I was versus the superficial holidays and the normal traditions. So I was like, oh, that's so cute.
The service is mine too.
Yeah.
But I love that because yes, I appreciate flowers. Yes, I appreciate the chocolate, but nothing warms my heart more and makes me feel more valued than someone that actually listens or
Mm-hmm.
takes notice of something,
Mm-hmm.
and does something kind to, like your microphone, give you that need. Uh, because I mean, I'm pretty sure you're a very independent woman. You could possibly have bought your own microphone, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he did it for you so you didn't have to, that is awesome. And I totally respect
Yeah.
that. I think that's great. So I'll ask you another question here. If you if you could give your younger self one piece of relationship advice, what would it be?
You are worthy of love. You are love. And trust me, love is on its way. Just be patient.
That's so good. That's so good. So, Miss T Quest, if someone wanted to get in touch with you outside of this podcast, how could they do so?
I'm glad you asked. No, they can follow me on all social media platforms at TQuestGLM, and they can download my TQuest mobile app in your Google Play Store and your App Store. I keep things very simple for people to follow me. So yeah, anything at TQuestGLM.
Again, for being our guest today. I love that you shared a little bit about yourself, and you are a woman of many hats and many talents, I can see. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me and have a conversation. I just wanted to say, everyone out there, you know who I am. I'm Angelina Mojica, you're a life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.